Right, so we're Unbound Interactive. I'm Dylan Hetherington. I'm sort of like team lead and lead programmer on the project.
And I'm the community manager and lead designer of the project.
Is this not format the slides apparently? But it's not that important. The slides not formatted apparently. But it's fine. First off, just who we are. We're a very small team, just three of us, coming from Staffordshire University. Pretty much throughout all of our second year of university, we're thinking like, we've got a placement coming up. What are we going to do with it? And then sort of coming together as friends throughout the year, talking to each other, we sort of came to this idea of what would be really cool would be if we went ahead, we made our own mark, we went out there, we did something important we cared about. So we sort of came to this idea of formulating an indie studio. So that's pretty much where the idea formulated, and that's what we're doing right now. I'm sorry. And specifically for our game, we really wanted to work with the trans community because two of the members themselves of the team being trans themselves, and not a lot of people, the community in general, it was something we really wanted to work with and share with people. And coming up, we've got a sort of, I hope it's going to work properly with this, sort of early in the works of trailer for the game. We'll hopefully have the soundtrack playing with it as well. I can hope.
Yes. She looks at the TV. She really wants that truck, but there's no way she would be allowed it in this binary world. Everyone sees the word as ones and zeros, but is it really? Surely that can't be all there is.
So Transhaping is a puzzle platformer game / side scroller. It's to raise awareness of issues that trans people face on a regular basis. It follows the story of a shape of which you design the character as, or what it looks like basically, who is struggling to accept who they are. You get to follow them from finding themselves all the way to fully transitioning.
Just sort of talking about the story of our company really, and sort of where we were coming from. So we want to work from our own experiences. So Jane and Ryan specifically just wanting to use their own experiences to try and help not only show that there are people out there like who have through transitioning and stuff and maybe don't have support out there, maybe don't know other people that are going through it, wanted to make it clear to them there are other people out there, have these same thoughts, go through these same experiences. You wanted to sort of help them with that. And we also sort of wanted to help for people that who aren't trans, maybe they don't understand the issue. There's a lot of just people not understanding or ignorance going around about the whole issue of transgender. So we wanted to do something that could maybe educate as well for people that don't already know. We also had to think about the scope of the game when we were making it. So we knew from the start, many of us, we're not that experienced, we're a fresh team, and we've got like a year maybe before we have to start thinking, all right, we need to get back to our education, finish this off, really keep taking anything further. So we wanted to create something we could put together in that time frame. So immediately from the start, we're thinking, all right, design, we want something simple we can put a lot of character into, and we want to, in the gameplay perspective, make something short and digestible, so like 2-3 hour long experience, something which we could feasibly develop in the time frame we have. And then also, this led us to Kickstarter when we realized we needed to get actual funding for our game. Had a little bit of support from the university, and after that, we're sort of just on our own. So we ended up going to Kickstarter, and through that, met some really great people who helped us out, showed us sort of what we should do, gave us tips on the campaign. It just helped us get it off the ground, and it was only a small amount we were asking for. We did manage to get it, luckily, just a bit over $3,000 for the project while it was still very early in development. Very happy with that. And people may have known, like, just from looking at it, if you've played Thomas Was Alone, quite a big influence, I guess, for us. So we did get a bit of a name, which is this been cut off now? Oh, no, it's fine on that. It's just there. It's worried this whole time about nothing. This is a actual tweet directly from Mike Biffle, who sort of found out about our project.
So we wanted Transhaping to be our first game because we wanted to make an impact not only in the games community, in the games industry, but also outside of that. We wanted to use the funding that we did have to help other trans musicians and voice actors and a bit of money for it. And we also wanted to use our platform to raise money for charity, because this year has been a huge issue. Even today, trans people in America have been banned from the military. So we wanted money for charities to help that kind of situations alongside it, which would raise money for the charity Trevor Project in America, and we raised about $100 for that.
All right, so the challenges faced. Right away, starting off, had a massive challenge. Back, I was talking about when we were talking about this during second year, had this group of friends. There were 6 of us. You may realize there's only 3 of us right now on the team. That was a situation out of control of people's hands. No one's really to blame for anything. It was just, we set the business plan already, like workload distributed amongst the 6 of us, and then finally came to launching the company, and we had half the manpower we originally planned to have. And so immediately we had to just plug all these holes in our business of like, all right, we no longer have the person we were going to have who was sort of like our business, it's like Fest, like more charisma than me. So they went to come out and like handle stuff, and we had another person who had more experience with game design specifically, and with them leaving, that put a lot more work on Ryan. Immediately, this caused a big problem, but we kind of managed to work around it. By the time I got around to signing our partnership agreement, we sort of clearly defined roles, who was going to do what, and we saw this type bond for being close friends, which I think has helped us get by with how to take on a big workload from having to manage making the game, advertise it, design work on top of that, handle everything to do with it. But yeah, we've been getting by, I think, mostly just because we really cared about what we were making. Now a big problem was this whole idea of turning a hobby into a profession, which I still wouldn't say we've necessarily done properly. But it's just this idea of turning like past experiences of game jams of, all right, big crunch period, sure, spent ages working on this thing weekend, and that's fine, I can just relax and that's fine, that's out of the way now, to, all right, I've got to show up every single day, put in like minimum like 6-7 hours work a day trying to develop this project, and with all the other stuff that, such as managing a team, trying to put into practice agile development practices like Scrum, and also like the whole being self-employed, managing your own business side of it, dealing with business taxes when that's all comes down the line. It's so much work, and it's the challenge was really trying to take on this new workload and take on this new mindset of working for it. And like one thing we were worried about is because what we're working on is unfortunately still controversial for some reason, some people. So we were worried about backlash or anything we might get for deciding to work on transgender. Honestly, since we started the project, everyone we've always come across has always been really supportive, friendly, always just helping us out, and we've never had any problems at all, so we've been really surprised and happy about that fact. Yeah, I mean, maybe when we get bigger, maybe and more exposed, maybe we'll get some of that, but I think based on the positiveness we've already received from the start of this, that we're to just shuffle that off and not have it affect us after else has been so good.
So we expect the game to be released next month, about next month. Making this game's had its challenges, it's had its good moments, but we know we can hopefully impact on this community and also the transgender community. Does anyone have any questions?
So, and I'll ask some questions anyway, because I think obviously I watched you guys after you launched your Kickstarter. I've done that myself. I mean, we worked on the Rocky Horror Show and we ran a Kickstarter with us. It's a huge amount of work. How did you did you know what you were going to expect when you started the Kickstarter?
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, we had like ideas of like, all right, marketing plan is like, oh, we'll just post updates and we'll post like little streams to show the game going along and stuff like that as we go throughout. And then we start realizing how much what we had to do on top of that actually sort of get noticed, especially when you helped us find people that we should be talking to get more exposure and stuff like that. Yeah, we realized there was a lot more to it than we initially thought, and so it's knowledge that will hopefully stick with us now.
Because you kind of jumped in at the deep end, haven't you? You've left. You're starting your first company together. You're starting on your first kind of game together, and you've got all the challenges that goes with that. Plus, you're running a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
and I mean, did you think about maybe trying to go for investment, or is this the kind of game we think that might be too difficult in the current economic climate? I mean, in terms
if the Kickstarter had fallen through, we probably would have looked at investment and stuff. It's just a case of we were very new to business, so we didn't really know where we were standing when it came to investing and such. So we didn't really want to take on more we can chew by talking to investors that might expect in like a monetary conversation and stuff. So that's why our film was Kickstarter. We'll work on this, people will expect the game product from us and everything else we create with it, but that's fine. We want to do that anyway. There's no like extra obligation of, all right, we will return to you £20,000 or whatever. Yeah. With investing. Not all investors is like that, but we didn't really want to.
And it would be difficult, wouldn't it? I mean, it's like it's your first project. It's challenging to prove a track record when it's your first project, after all. Yeah. I mean, how prepared do you think you were? I mean, obviously coming out from doing something to a certain extent, do you think that kind of gave you what you needed to get started, or was it more about the hobby experience that you guys had before you engaged with this game?
I mean, I had a bit of a shock first off when I was initially a website developer for the company. I do website in university and that is my thing. And then people left and I was like, well, I guess I've got to do the design aspects of it and I've got to learn all of these new things in the first like month of us even producing the game. I was not prepared.
Super trooper, to be honest. The course itself was pretty good. Like, we did learn some stuff for businesses and like agile development practices and stuff, which sort of helped us go into it. But like the reality of it all, I guess we weren't super prepared for.
So I mean, now you're, as far as you are, a month away from release. I mean, I still think there's quite a lot you're going to learn as you get through that. Yeah. But what do you think you've picked up that would help you in your next project? What's the core lessons you think you've picked up from doing, from jumping in so deep, and what we would do next?
From like a sort of game aspect of it would be a lot more in terms of planning and management, because I was in charge of a lot of the management stuff for this one, and I really had no idea what I was doing. So for the next one, it'd be, before we go into it, making sure what it is we actually want to create, make sure we set milestones and everything, and actually sort of operate it like a professional business. And we sort of started doing that along the line, but we didn't start off like that, and it really sort of affected the project. So I think next we'd work right away in that mindset. I mean, that's pretty important for the product itself.
I mean, I'd be interested to know how central the trans question is to why you were getting through the Kickstarter, why you're able to achieve that. I mean, I asked this as, obviously, as you guys know, it affects my so it's interesting to know, do you think that's an important part of why this was possible?
Definitely, yeah. Especially with musicians, because our musicians are really good at just spreading the word constantly, and obviously they're all trans as well. They know trans people, so it kind of spread out from our musicians mainly.
Your initial tweet you put out looking for musicians for the game got massive traction, and then that's what we sort of made some connections, I guess, with people from that original tweet. That sort of helped us get a bit more noticed, I guess.
I mean, I don't know how much in the room the context is understood. In the last couple of years, there's been a 5-fold increase in young kids who have come out as trans, and it's had a massive impact in terms of NHS support. The waiting lists are, I think I last heard 4 years. I won't go into that. That's probably the wrong thing to do with this talk. But the thing is, it's an awful lot out of young people who are discovering who their identity is. And for me, this is an incredibly important thing to be able to use the skill sets that we're learning to make games, to be able to communicate issues that really matter. So that's why I'm really grateful for you guys for coming up and talking about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.